Of all the painful aspects of divorce, realizing that your children aren't comfortable with you or even that they're afraid of you is probably the most devastating. So in this video, I'm going to show you 3 different ways that this happens. We're going to talk about what to do about it and why so many fathers really struggle to reconnect with their children after this fear has been created. And I'm also going to show you what you can do differently from what most fathers try so that you can actually be successful at reconnecting with your children after that discomfort or fear has come into play. So first, let's talk about where this comes from. There's kind of 3 main ways that I see this fear developing in the children of the men I work with. I'm a divorce coach and I work primarily with men in a program called Better Beyond Divorce. And what happens for a lot of my clients, one is that sometimes they just take the role of father and their image of what father is supposed to be a little too seriously, right? And so they see themselves as the protector, the provider. Maybe they're even a little bit anxious about being a good dad. And so they're really trying to be a great father, but they come off a little too strict, a little too stern, a little too cold. And their children just start to pull away and they find that they're being excluded from things, right? Their kids are going to mom or they're confiding in each other and they're not really talking to dad or opening up to him. So sometimes it's kind of that gentle layer of discomfort with dad and not wanting to communicate with him. But sometimes it's outright fear. And that usually happens when kids have seen your anger. And this is usually in one of 2 ways. Either you've been angry with the kids, right? Yelling at them. Sometimes you're actually angry with them. Other times you're stressed, you're angry about something at work, something going on with your wife, and then the kids act up and it comes out at them and the anger is disproportionate to what was really going on with the child. And often you even know it as it's happening or afterwards, but then it's hard to repair that after, right? And if this happens again and again, if the anger gets triggered by the kids and comes out on them over time, they can become afraid. The other way that anger tends to create fear for children is even if you're never angry with them and you never raise your voice, you don't yell, you're very gentle with them, but you fight with their mother and they see your anger in those arguments, that often creates fear in children. And there's just a truth here that I think men need to be aware of is that you are at a disadvantage. Because yes, your kids are seeing both mom and dad be angry, but usually dad is bigger, usually dad is stronger, usually dad is louder, not always, but deeper voice, right? There are just some physical characteristics you have that make your anger from the outside look more threatening, more dangerous than hers. It might not be. In fact, she might be the one who's more abusive, physically, verbally, emotionally. But a lot of times for kids, when they see an argument between their parents, it's dad's anger that seems the most threatening to that little person, seems the most dangerous. And often this really is just because on average, men have about 30% more muscle mass than women. And it really is just a physical distinction. But if your kids are afraid of you, right, what do? How do you fix that? And this is especially brutal if you're going through separation or divorce and now you don't have your kids a lot of the time. And if there's fear involved, often that means that you have your kids very, very little, right? Maybe you only get them one weekend here and there or one night at a time. And so you don't have a lot of opportunities then to reconnect. And what I see a lot of men doing, the mistake I see them making, is they really, really, really try to modify and manage their behavior, both around their children and their ex-wife. So they try to stay really calm and be quiet and listen and be responsive, right? And they're trying to do all of the things that you're supposed to do, and it doesn't work, right? And they find that they get accused of things when they do that, right? They get accused of being cold or not listening or making some kind of judgment, even though they're not talking. And so what's going on? Why, when you change your behavior, are your children still reacting poorly? And what's happening here is that changing your behavior, it's not going to change the dynamic in any relationship unless you've also changed your nervous system state. So when you're angry, you're in a fight or flight response. And a lot of men push back on this one with me, but it's true. Anger does not come up when your nervous system is calm and grounded. It only comes up when you're in fight or flight. And we do not go into fight or flight when we feel safe. So that means we only get angry when we feel threatened, right? Anger is a defensive emotion. It drives us to protect ourselves, to protect our boundaries, to stop ourselves or someone we care about from being hurt. And so a lot of men are like, no, I'm just kind of frustrated and this just really annoyed me. If you sit with your anger and you get to know it and you follow it back to the source, you are going to find a sense of threat. Anger is there protecting a part of us that feels in danger, a part that even feels like it could be annihilated if the anger is strong. And so if you don't feel safe and anger comes up and then you modify your behavior, you still haven't dealt with the threat, right? You haven't made yourself feel safe. You haven't made your nervous system feel calm and balanced and grounded. You're still in fight or flight. You're just not acting angry. But so much of communication is nonverbal. And all of those nonverbal cues, your body language, your tone of voice, your eye contact, the little changes in your muscle and facial expression, muscle tone throughout your body, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of little teeny tiny subconscious signals that your body is sending to everyone around you that says this person is in fight or flight. Everyone around you is picking up those signals and they're saying, that person's in fight or flight. And when someone's in fight or flight, they're not safe. They're not safe for us because if you don't feel safe and you're in fight or flight, now you're going to act either to run away or lash out, right? It's a fight or flight response. And so somebody who's in that state is more likely to be aggressive. And now, especially if you're a man and I'm a child, right? You're a lot bigger than me. You're a lot stronger than me. So you being angry, you not feeling safe, you being in fight or flight is not very safe for me. I don't want to be around you when you feel threatened because you become a potential threat to me. So it doesn't matter how much you try to be nice and calm and gentle and listen. If you don't feel safe, if your nervous system is activated, your kids are going to pick up on that. They're not going to be able to help it. They might not even know why they don't feel good around you, but they're not going to feel good around you. They're not going to feel safe, which means that modifying your behavior is not enough. If you want to fix your relationship with your children, if you want to help them feel safe around you, you have to get safe first, which means you need to get your nervous system out of fight or flight and into a calm and regulated state. And so you need to figure out what is putting you in fight or flight in the first place. Often, well, there's a lot of things when you're going through divorce, I'll tell you that'll put you in fight or flight. But often it's our own emotions that drive it. If something is happening that feels really sad, really painful, really hurtful, shameful, those things will drive us into a fight or flight response. Often our brain uses anger to try to protect us from or even avoid the pain of those other emotions. So sometimes it's our own emotional reaction that's creating fight or flight. Other times it's a lost sense of identity. Who are you, right? And especially as you're, often you sacrifice a part of your identity for the marriage for many years, giving things up, sacrificing to be the provider and the protector for these kids, for this woman. But then as you go through the divorce, you lose that identity and who are you now? Right? So there can be a real sense of disturbance, uncertainty, lack of safety there that drives anger for a lot of men. So you need to figure out what's driving the fight or flight response and then start to heal those underlying issues so that your nervous system can be grounded, safe, and calm. When that happens, it's going to communicate very naturally to your children and it's going to shift. They are going to feel better around you and you're not even going to have to work very hard at it. You're just going to be in a safer state, but it has to start from inside of you. This actually happened to me. My parents got divorced when I was 6, and I was quite scared of my dad for most of my childhood. I couldn't have told you why, but I didn't feel very safe around him. And then I remember very clearly one evening with him when I think I was about 16, and he took me and my brother out to see, I think it was the Pink Panther at an outdoor cinema, and it was this beautiful summer night, and he was a different person that night. And honestly, ever since, he's been different to be around. And again, I couldn't really put my finger on what exactly changed. It wasn't his behavior. It wasn't what he said. It wasn't what he did. But I felt different in his presence. And what I've seen over the years and now looking back was that he really softened at that point in my life. I don't know what he did, But he did something on the inside that took him out of his fight or flight state. And as soon as he did, I couldn't help but respond to it. And he and I now are quite close. And so it's not your actions, it's not your words. It is the state of your nervous system that your children are responding to. And so that's what you have to get control of. If you would like a step-by-step path for how to do that, join me in the free masterclass, How to Take Back Control of Your Life After Divorce. In that masterclass, I explain all of these different nervous system states, how we get into them, and then how we can actually activate the right parts of our brain to help ourselves move out of them, and how we can also identify our triggers and start to rewire that so that we can be more resilient in the face of challenges, in the face of obstacles, without the nervous system going into the kind of fight or flight response that damages our relationships. I will see you guys in the masterclass. Thank you for watching. And if your kids are uncomfortable around you or afraid of you, there is hope and there is time. But you have to start by taking care of your own nervous system, because nothing else that you do while you're in fight or flight is going to be big enough to overcome that subconscious communication that's happening between the nervous systems. So you have to get yourself to a calm, grounded, safe, balanced place emotionally, physically. Then your kids are going to be able to respond and just naturally feel connected and safe with you.